Okay, everyone in this room has two things in common. Number one, hands up if you provide a really good product or service in the marketplace. We all do, so we have that in common. The second thing we have in common is to be successful in our business, we need to sell. So we all need to do sales. All agree? Brilliant, okay. So my background is covered, as Caleb touched on there, SME, corporate, door-to-door, presentations, cold calling. So I've been across the full gamut nearly of sales. And what I'd like to do is condense 27 years of pain, torture, and joy into 2 words to give you guys the secret of successful selling. So would that add value to your business? Yeah. Okay. So just before I give you the secrets of successful selling, just want to share an idea. So if you guys had a problem with your car and you went to your mechanic who you trust and has good experience and has serviced your car before, and he said, listen, Dean, I can fix your car now and it'll cost $50 and it'll take an hour. Or option B, you can drive it for another 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks' time it's going to die a death and it's going to cost you $1,000 to repair it. We'd all go with option 1, yeah? Okay, so the frustrating thing for me in terms of working with business owners over the last 15 years is I obviously have, similar to the mechanic, good experience, sit with them, give them my ideas on how to develop the strategies to get success. And I always leave a meeting with the business owner saying, yeah, I like the strategies, I can see how that would work. But 90% of the time plus, if I meet them in a month or 2 down the line and say, how are the strategies going? Generally, there's been a failure to implement. They're always too busy, distracted, and nothing has happened. So they've taken that information and not used it. So when I share the secret of successful selling, I'd like you to take it on board. I've been doing it for 27 years, and I've proven it over and over again that it works. So the secret of successful selling, I have to say this slowly because of my accent, in 2 words is show up. So if I say that fast in Irish, that sounds like shut up. And I know you guys are thinking that's too easy. It can't be that simple. So what I'm going to do is I'll make a deal with you. I'll prove it. I'll give 3 examples from when I started in sales, middle part of my career, and a very recent up-to-date District 32 example to prove it. And if I ask you to do me a favor, that will cost you no money, no time, and very little energy. If I prove it, will you deliver on a favor for me? Yeah? Okay, so when I finish, I'm going to go, that's all, folks. You guys just stand up and clap your hands. So I get that standing ovation. It'll be great for my self-esteem. So what I'll do is I'm going to prove that showing up is as simple, it's the most crucial part of selling. So anyone I've met in 27 years who's in sales or business development has never planned to be in sales. Like no one ever said, when I grow up, I want to be a salesman. Everyone like me, I think, has got into it by accident. So in Ireland in the late 80s, for a change in Ireland, we had a recession. So I was a qualified computer programmer, and so I got the training, got the education, but I couldn't get a job. So I was willing to do anything to obviously start working. So I applied for a job which I thought was for in a warehouse, but it was a bit of a con. The job was actually for door-to-door sales. So I had no job, so I just said, well, I've nothing to do, I'll give it a go. So this company were based across Europe, Dublin, Scotland, England, and mainland Europe. So I don't know why, but I was very interested in going to Scotland, and they were in a recession as well. So I'm a big Celtic supporter, so that's the only reason I probably went. So there was no training, there was no induction, it was basically torn up on day one. So if anyone's been to Ireland or Scotland, they'll know weather-wise it's sheeting rain, it's cold, icy, and we don't get much sunshine. So I turned up on day one. I was a young guy, about 20-ish. I had a big quiff of hair back then. I looked well. Well, I thought so anyway. So I turned up day one wearing a very cheap-looking suit and turned up into the office. And the guy behind the counter gave me a bag, which we call a bag of merch. And he said, and the one thing he said to me is, Dean, you need to show up today at 180 doors to hit 30 sales. If you show up at 180 doors, you will be successful. So I went, great. So I walked outside the door and I opened up the bag of merchandise, and there was these bright blue boxes of solar-powered radios. So think Ireland, Scotland, and this is 27 years ago, so technology wasn't great. You don't see too many solar-powered radios even today. So I said awesome. So the weather, as you can imagine, sheeting rain, wasn't great, and so I said, okay, I'll show up. So as I said, there was no training, so my sales pitch was very simple. Knock on the door, bright blue box, normally £30, today £10. That was it. So really poor sales presentations, pitch, no explanation. I didn't even know how they worked, to be honest. Part of obviously live, I didn't know how to turn around. So knocked on the first door. The box was actually falling apart in my hand because of the weather. So knocked on the door, and that was my pitch, and made a sale. I'm going, oh, geez, that was great. Knocked on the second door, got a second sale. Knocked on the third door, I got 2 from that. So I'm going, 4 from the first 3 doors. I'm going, I'm a natural born sales machine, super talented. But as you guys know, being in business with sales, reality kicks in. Go to the 4th door, thought it was a joke, slammed the door. There was some colourful language, get the hell out of here, you imagine. So negatives kicked in fairly quick, as they do in sales, or wherever business or service you're in. So I got to lunchtime, and I'd probably only sold, I think, 7 or 8 from memory. So I didn't have a great morning. So as a really young guy, obviously it impacted, going, oh, what was I thinking, getting involved in sales. So, but what I did was, the only bit of advice I had was show up at 180 doors. So I just said, I'm going to push on in the afternoon, 180 doors, and let's see how it goes. So the afternoon didn't go much better, to be honest. I probably doubled to maybe 16, 17. But I finished the day, which was really good. But I actually felt really good at the end of the day, because I'd achieved 180 doors, and I had made some sales. So I did get a bit of confidence from it. I went out day 2, day 3, and I didn't do much better, maybe a bit worse on 1 or 2 of those days. But I persevered. But what I did learn, I stuck at that for 2 years on the streets of Glasgow and Dublin largely. But what I did learn, it was a great education in terms of communication, the number of sales as a numbers game and all that good stuff. And I'll give a couple of examples. There was one place, Sauchiehall Street. If you've ever been in Glasgow, there's a shopping centre there. I'm not sure if he's still there. It was an old shoe repair shop. So the guys who I worked with said, never go in there, Dean. That guy hates us with a vengeance for no known reason. So the other bit of advice I was given was never cherry pick. So cherry picking is, you'd see a prospect and you go, oh, they'd never buy, so I'd go on to the next one. So that was ingrained in me. Never, everywhere, just knock on that door. So I said, I'm going in. So I went in, and you could see he was ready. He knew, just by our bags, he knew who we were. He goes, get the hell out. I said, I'm just here to give you a message. You're here to give me a message. And he said, what? I said, have a great day. And I just walked out. Then I went in some 2 weeks later when I was doing that particular route again. I'm here just to give you another message. Well, what's the message? And you could see the anger come from, and it was happy Monday, and off I went. So then I kept going in probably for 3-4 months, every 2-3 weeks, and not selling him anything. And then one day it was raining for a change, really hard, and I went in and I said, have you got a kettle? And he goes, are you selling kettles? And I went, no, it's freezing. I'm looking for a coffee. And in fairness to him, he gave me a coffee. So after a few minutes, he'd obviously relaxed. I suppose he appreciated maybe the sense of humor. And he said, what are you selling? And I said, you wouldn't be interested. And he goes, how do you know? I said, you're not the type. So he looked at what I can't remember what I was selling. I think it was a calculator or something. So he actually bought something on me. So what that proved to me was sales is about touch points. Very, very rarely someone buys off you on the first, second, or third time, and 80% of your sales are done between touch point 4 and 14 on average.
So you mean you have to go to 4 to 48 times?
Exactly. It doesn't necessarily have to be a face-to-face. It could be by email, phone, having a coffee at a meeting. So I learned that the very hard way back in Glasgow. The second one as well is I remember going into this garage. It was very early days being in Glasgow, and there was an old guy. They were on their lunch. There was about 6 guys there, and I showed him what it was. I can't remember. I think it was teddy bears or something. And he said, "Oh no, it was actually the solar power radios." And I said to him, and he goes, "Geez, I know where you could you'd sell all them." And I thought, "Oh, I'm going to be finished by lunchtime, massive sale." And he goes, "Straight out the door, turn left, keep going till you hit Sydney Harbour Bridge. The Aussies will love it. They have the sun." So all the guys were laughing. But you can imagine me as a really young guy going, "Oh, jeez," so down. But I mean, I learned perseverance from that. So I went back again every few weeks, and so perseverance I learned there as well, and obviously the communication skills to be able to reply to that kind of banter and stuff. So I suppose after 2 years of doing those hard yards, what I learned is you need to show up at 180 doors. After about 6 months, I was on average probably hitting 40 to 50 sales per day. So obviously I improved, my technique improved, my communication skills improved. But that was the core message I learned from those very early days: show up. So that's the early part of my illustrious sales career. A few years later, I got recruited into the corporate world of banking. So I was back in Dublin, lovely office, overseeing St. Stephen's Green, if anyone's ever been to Dublin. Surrounded by all the financial institutions. So the company I was with was a merchant bank, and they'd lost 300 million pounds, I think it was at the time, on their retail side. Now, that didn't concern them because retail banking wasn't what they were in. They were just, those funds were basically CEOs on the commercial side who had money and just wanted to put it somewhere. So it wasn't a major concern, but this bank was going through a massive growth period on the commercial side, and they needed to fund this all of a sudden. So they said, okay, well, why don't we not develop this retail arm that can fund the commercial side? So I was brought in to supervise 3 guys. So between the 4 of us, our targets were $45 million for the year, which sounds like a big figure, but it's not really if you break it down to the money that we were dealing with. So this was unusual for me. Brilliant marketing, radio, bit of TV, and it was all inbound stuff. So it was kind of fairly easy. It wasn't that hard to hit targets based on the marketing that was coming in. But for me, I found it difficult in terms of I was so used to kind of the more proactive side of selling. I found it hard to adjust to that. So what I did then to try and keep myself interested was I got all the details of the $300 million that we'd lost, and I had all the contact details. Now, they didn't leave the bank because they're unhappy, just there was better products and rates out there, but the bank had obviously upped their game, and I had some ammunition. So what I did was I committed to showing up every day and contacting 30 of these ex-clients. Very simple call. Hey, Joe, it's Dean from Anglo-Irish Bank. Just updating you on our rates. Is that of interest to you? Now, some of them had their money tied up for 3, 6, 9 months, so they couldn't commit. And if they couldn't, I'd say, listen, I'll give you a call the week beforehand and update you because our rates are likely going to go up or the products will be different. And everyone was okay with that. So I had a really good hit rate in terms of people saying, come back to me. There was others who their money was available straight away and they were willing to obviously come back to the bank. So I committed for the 12 months, every day, 30 calls. No matter what happened, I showed up at all those calls. At the end of the year, the 3 guys had done really well. They'd hit between 55 and 60 million dollars. I'd hit just under 125 million. And I would say probably 60% of that was from the proactive showing up for those phone calls. So again, what I'd basically done is replicate what I'd done in Glasgow, virtual door knocking into largely telesales to get meetings. So again, the showing up worked, and I had a good success rate with that over the 8-9 years I was involved with that bank. So then I'll move on to the most recent part of my career. As you can see, there's no more grey hair. My hairbrush is on eBay the last 3 years. So what I decided in January of this year was, if anyone who knows me knows I'm really poor with technology and all that social media stuff. I'm kind of fairly lucky that Lorraine and Lynn drive that District 32 part. So I was kind of thinking being the year, I want to do something on my own path in terms of business development. So I said I'm going to do an offline and an online. So my offline stuff was very basic. So I said I'm going to go back to old-fashioned stuff, networking, one-to-ones, some cold calling, and actually some door knocking. Now, not a lot of it, but committing to some. So they were my 4 strategies. My online one was very simple. I was going to just take a phone and basically do a journal of my sales journey over the week. So it's just basically record and upload that to LinkedIn. That was my strategy. So I kicked off January the 8th, and my message was what I wanted to do was communicate to business owners. Sales isn't that hard. It's like everything else in business. It's a process, and you just need to stick to that process week in, week out to get results. So week 1, January the 8th, I'd done the recording. Said, okay, I'm in the same boat as every business owner out there. I'm on ground zero. I'm looking to get to here. Here's my strategies. So on LinkedIn, I had something like 500 views within 3-4 days. So I'm going, geez, who's out there? So but I implemented the strategy straight away. The month of January, obviously starting from cold, I didn't hit targets. I hit 70% of my target, which I was kind of happy with, starting from just the month that's in it in January. I stuck week in, week out with the same tactics. Went into February slightly better. I hit 80% of targets. I knew where I failed, and I shared that on my LinkedIn videos. I failed because of A and B. So March, which is just passed, I've hit 150% of targets. A good bit of that is built up from what I've done in January and February in developing that pipeline. But I suppose the bottom line is from week one, I've been dogmatic in what I've been doing. It's been 4 strategies, and it hasn't changed each week. I've just focused on making sure I do that every week. The weeks where I've done poorly is I've dropped the ball. I've on 1 or 2 of those strategies, and you can see it in the results. So I've just showed up. I haven't done anything magical. There's no silver bullet in anything I've done. I'd like to say there's talent, but there's not a lot of talent. It's just following a system of 3 or 4 strategies to get those results. So I've just showed up, similar to what I've done 27 years ago in Glasgow and Dublin. I've just showed up with different strategies. So in the 3 examples I've given, there are 3 different industries, 3 different services, but the strategy has been the same. It's just been shown up with 3 or 4 different aspects to interact with clients or customers. So, folks, I would like to say that is all. Cheers. Thanks a million.